So lately I've been trying to figure out why it's so hard for me to act.
Hey, welcome. It's B Ricky. Yeah.
What kind of got me thinking about this was I was thinking about how much I focus on my mental health and not my physical health, and how I really neglect my physical health. And I don't appreciate the role it has in my mental health and just my overall general health. And then the amount of pressure that I put on my mental state and my mental status or my mental health to be good or healthy or stable when I'm neglecting the physical aspect of my health, if that makes sense. And the thing is I haven't realized it really for the longest time. I didn't really realize I was neglecting my physical health so much. And then last year, I was experiencing my anxiety and my mental health symptoms physically through my body for the first time. And I was having those anxiety attacks and how sick I made myself. And it just kind of becomes this vicious cycle, I guess. But the poor physical health influences the poor mental health. The poor mental health influences the poor physical health. So I find I start to not eat well. I start to not sleep well. I think this is my problem is I don't eat, and when I do eat, it's unhealthy choices because I don't want to put the time and the energy into making good decisions, good healthy decisions for me. And then I wonder why sort of my mental state isn't doing well, and it's it's 4 o'clock, and you've been up since 9 and you haven't eaten, and all you've had is 3 cups of coffee. So yeah, you don't feel good and your body's not running off of stuff that it needs to be running off of. And you have anxiety already. So what makes it a good idea to just drink coffee for the day? And then it's I put the pressure on my for not feeling mentally well. It's oh, why am I so anxious? Why do I not feel good? Why is my mood so low? Why am I upset right now? And it's well, you're tired, you're malnourished, you're hungry, you're running off of crap. Yeah, you're not going to feel good. But I put the almost the responsibility on my mental health, I should feel fine no matter what. And it was it's a really vicious cycle. And it's kind of well, why do I do this? It seems so silly when it's just stop. How do I just stop? I've thought about it a lot and a lot. I know a lot of it has to do with neglecting myself and running away from myself. It's a lack of self love. And that's something that is a new realization for me is the lack of self love that has sort of permeated and been the foundation for a lot of the things that I've done and thought. And so a problem with me is I get really lost in my mind. I get lost about thinking about it all. And it's almost I feel I detach from my body or something. I'm still here, but it's I feel almost immobile. I feel frozen a lot of the time. It'd be a good way to explain it. It's I kind of know what I have to do. I know what needs to be done. I know how to do it, sometimes depending. But it's I can't act. I can't do it. It's I feel frozen. Why? I don't completely know. But right now I'm kind of learning that self-discipline piece with the self-love. That's something that I learned over the past year. I shamed myself into doing a lot of things, and a lot of my discipline, self-discipline was out of shame and out of fear, and it wasn't out of self-love. It was fear of the future or fear of the past or what would happen to me. And it's now doing things for myself because I love myself. And so I was kind of looking into my stuff. I was okay, why can't I act? Or what is stopping me? Why do I freeze? And I think part of it has to do with a learned helplessness. kind of thing, part of it, because I got very used to like just sitting and sort of stewing in my discomfort and feeling like I couldn't really do anything about it and not really being able to do anything about it. Like just having such high anxiety for my whole life and struggling with that and growing up in a household where I didn't feel very safe or stable, I felt like I didn't really have control of my environment and I just had to be places. I had to be is either at home or I was at school and both were scary places for me. So when I couldn't really do anything about it, it was like you're a kid, so you go one place, then you go to the next place. And I was so fearful, and I'd be at home and I'd be scared, and then I'd go to school and I'd be scared, and it was just like I was just always scared. I learned to sit in it and just not do anything about it because I felt like I couldn't. But I think this kind of just pattern and mindset stayed as I got older too. And it was like, you're always going to be super uncomfortable and you can't really do anything about it. And you just kind of sit with it. And then I think when I kind of could get out of it, finally, I was a little old enough and I went away to school. And then I move out and I have my own place for the first time. And then I isolated myself and became very isolated because it was like I'm finally free of this kind of feeling of constant anxiety. Started to neglect the things that even needed to get done. Like even just doing the dishes, it was like I just let myself indulge myself, I guess you could say, with just the feeling of like no anxiety. It was like an indulgence, and it was just like, so I stayed home and I didn't do anything. And because I was in school and the way that my classes were laid out at the time, like I had a lot of time that I could be at home. So I did, and I barely left. And it was in a city where I was alone. And I was 11 hours away from my family. And of course, I didn't make any new friends. And then when I did, I backed myself out of it and neglected it and isolated myself. And so I kind of just went too far with it into where the place was like my place was a mess. I was a mess. And over that year, also learned that wasn't self-love. I was letting myself indulge in the other way too much to the point where it was like I was still in pain and I was still, I was running from the anxiety and I was running from it. I was shutting it off without having dealt with why I felt it. So my physical and my mental health kind of crashed together last year, and it just, it was literally just like I gotta love myself out of this. But I don't know how to do that. And I don't really know what that looks like. And I don't really know what that feels like. But that's what has to be done. So I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm trying to figure out what that means and what that looks like and what that feels like. And I'm trying to love myself out of it. And I have to love myself out of it. I can't shame myself out of it. But those patterns have been built up in me for so long that it's really, really hard to change them. And they're the automatic thoughts and, and the automatic feelings that come. And you have to stop and learn to question them and to learn how to be kind to yourself. Which is like, what? How? So right now I'm trying to work on the self-discipline piece, but like self-loving, because what I want to do is nothing. I want to sit and watch YouTube all day and play Sims and paint my nails and do absolutely nothing. That's just kind of what I feel like I want to do, but it's like, is that really what I want to do? Like, no, that's not really what I want to do. I want to do that sometimes, and it's like, okay, so what do I have to do? And how do I do it? And how do I make those steps in the right direction when I feel like even the baby steps are way too hard? So like up until now, it feels like I've just been sort of gritting my teeth through it all and just pushing forward. But my body literally was like, no, we can't do this anymore. We're not doing this anymore. And I had to learn that that I was operating out of shame and I was operating out of fear. And that's not sustainable. Like it's not a sustainable way to operate. You burn out. And I burnt out. I crashed and I burnt. And it's like, why can't I do all these things I want to do? Why can't I? Why can't I? And it's like, because you're beating yourself into it. You're not kindly leading yourself. You're not doing it out of self love. You're doing it out of, why can't I do this? And why am I not good enough? And why am I stupid? I absolutely have to and had to continue to change my perspective on everything and constantly challenge all my cognitive distortions and my automatic negative thoughts and feelings that come, and not identifying with them right away and giving myself the time to process and question and to be kind to myself as I would be to another person. And that's something that's really challenging for me because there is a lot of negative self-talk, and something that actually helps me deal with that is like I have to picture my inner child, and I have to picture myself as a child and go back to, little me, and how like I have the same fears and I have the same wants and needs, and it's just I have to do them for myself. And I just kind of have to, like, when I look at myself in that way and I can see a child, it's like it's hard for me to say to a child, get over it. You're being stupid. You're being emotional. You're being, this and that. I could never ever say that. And you would never say that to a child. So it's just like I picture, little me, and it's like it sometimes, most of the time, it makes me really emotional because it's like you can't shame yourself for that. Like you can't treat yourself the way that you've been treated. But yeah, it's like basically I've been bullying myself into things and not really realizing it. And I have to love myself into things and teach myself that it's okay to be, and it's okay to do things. It's okay to act. It's okay to be a person now and say things and speak up. It's creating that safety and like teaching myself that it's safe and it's okay and it's good to speak and to act and to just be who you are. And it's like fighting against that, like wanting to freeze and just sort of sit in everything and to act and to take care of myself and to give myself permission to take care of myself first. So yeah, right now I'm working on loving myself into doing and acting and being and standing confidently in who I am and being authentically me. And it's hard. It's hard not to want to run and hide and just to like pretend I don't exist or make myself invisible. I know there's a lot of people who feel this way too, and you're not invisible. And you deserve to be seen, and you deserve to be heard, and you deserve to have a place, and you deserve to be here just as much as anyone else does. And I have to keep telling myself this and reminding myself that every day. Some days I forget, but I'm still working on it. So that's what a lot of right now in the past little bit has been about, is trying to get out of my head into the world and getting myself doing things, taking care of myself. And like I'm talking like even as easy as like making myself eat at a reasonable time, before I get too hungry and I get hangry, and I'm irritable, and then shit hits the fan, and making myself go to bed at a reasonable time, or making that phone call I need to make to set up the doctor's appointment, or replying to the email. That's a fun one for me. That takes me a while. Literally little things like that to bigger things like needing to finish my practicum placement and my thesis and my defense presentation. So it's trying to figure out working with myself, what's going to work with myself, what's going to work with me, working with my inner child, working with myself and letting go of all the rules to find out what works. Yeah, you're worth it. You're worth everything. You're worth acting. You're worth doing. You're worth being. You're worth showing up in the world. And I'm trying to tell myself that too. So it feels lonely and it feels like I'm the only one like this, but I know that that's not true. So, again, sharing is good, right? Right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I think that's all for now. Bye.